be very careful with the information that's being fed to you right now, especially if it's presenting itself as the truth, like it's trying to be fed into you instead of giving you space and time for you to make your own decision. If it's overly posturing itself as the truth, so that's something you should already accept and that you should already agree with, that's how you know that this is manipulation, actually. And if you receive information and it's creating a strong reaction out of you, likely that's a sign that you are being manipulated emotionally. The reason why that humans are very susceptible to manipulation is because they let their emotions get the best of them. And so when we're dealing with an entity like the government, that's how they try to control the people, by putting people in the state of fear, by feeding them propaganda. And you could say that, well, it's just giving us information, especially in this day and age where information is abundant. We can find information wherever we want. It does not mean that information equals truth. It does not mean the information is actually fact-based. A lot of people make assumptions based on inference. A lot of people also confuse inference and assumption and perspective for fact and actually the objective truths. And when we live in a society that is built on deception and capitalism, it works in the favor of the government to keep people controlled emotionally. And the easiest way to control people is fear. And you could say that fear isn't always a bad thing, because when we're fearful of the right things, it can actually bring us a lot of great results. Like, for example, if we fear the divine consequences, if we fear the justice, the actual higher law, if we fear God and spirit, the universe, that's a different type of fear. And it's not like something that controls us, but it's something that drives us, that inspires us. But when we're talking about fears that immediately take a jab at our emotional state, so the government creates fears and also fuels our fear, right? By constantly making us feel like we have to be on guard, that we have to prepare, that we have to do this and this and this, or we're missing out. That is, or that if you don't do this, that you're a bad person, that if you do this, that you are X, Y, and Z. These stories, these optics that are being fed to you, all of this is a fear-based, fear-driven narratives that are being fed to you. This is manipulation. This is how governments or big institutions manipulate you. Again, fear itself is not inherently a bad thing. Fear can also work in your favor if you wield it appropriately. Like I said, having that reverence and fear of the higher law, that can actually serve you, okay? So it's not to demonize this fear, but it's to really, for you to open your eyes to the process that you are walking through, where your emotions are being riled up, where these tactics and these optics and these narratives that are being fed to you while presenting themselves as the truth, how is that actually influencing you in making your decisions? Because when we're actually fearful, right, by our emotions, or when it's one thing for us to actually fear the consequences and therefore acting right, and the whole other thing for us to be riled up emotionally and then rushing into making decisions or rushing into making choices that we don't even know what we're doing. That is manipulation, right? Not having the space to realize what we're doing, that's manipulation. And I've always said this, and I don't like using biblical terms, but the devil is always going to use the similar tactics that the highest truth does, God does, okay? The devil plays the same game that God plays, except that God is not playing the games. God simply exists. God simply operates by the cosmic law. It simply is. It simply is the truth. But when you're orchestrating this, you gotta manipulate perceptions and you gotta create feelings for people to fall for that tactic. Okay? So a lot of the times these two paths look very much similar, but one is playing a game while the other one isn't. And if you are driven by emotion, you are going to be manipulated by this path that is actually there to manipulate you, to influence you, to derail you off of this path to the real truth. And during times like this, it is extremely crucial for you to stay grounded and not just believe something just because it's creating big emotions in you. Okay? It's one thing for you to make your own realizations and then that giving you this spark of big emotions because you are realizing something on your own, you're having your own epiphanies, that's you being accountable, you're realizing something, you're having clarity, and then having your emotions flow through those moments. There's that. And then there's also you emotionally reacting to every single thing just because it's popping up in your face, and now you have to rush through these processes and you don't actually know what you're doing. You're actually scared of being wrong, and so you keep doing the wrong things just so you can avoid sitting still. Okay? Be very careful right now. It's not the external circumstances right now that are happening outside of you that you should be concerned about. It's that right now, there is so much going on outside of you that if you're not grounded in yourself, in your intuition, and not fear, you will continue to make the wrong decisions. And you might have already done that. And sometimes the decision isn't even external. Sometimes the decision to forget your power. And when I say your power, I'm talking about your sovereignty, your groundedness, you being centered in your intuition instead of just being driven by fear because you're being fed all this information left to right and your emotions are getting manipulated left to right. People are telling you what you care about left to right and you don't actually know how to think for yourself. You think that just because this person is telling you this, oh, it must be something that should be believed. A lot of people think that having an opinion or doing something equals them being aligned with the truth, or that means that they're actually striving for sovereignty. But most of the time, they're just being driven by emotion that's being manipulated right now by a force that's trying to get them to fail, that's trying to get them controlled. So be discerning right now. It doesn't matter what happens outside of you. What you can do is that if you care about doing the right thing, then you must know how to think for yourself. But if you continue to give power away to outside sources around you, you will never even get to practice what it means to think for yourself. And this is why I always say, like, use your emotions to show you what you need to feel, but don't be dictated by emotions because your emotions are the easiest thing to manipulate. That's how they manipulate you. The institutions, even this has layers to this. But emotional manipulation happens all the time. Sometimes people manipulate themselves because of their own emotions, because they don't know how to govern their emotions. Emotions are not to be demonized, but I'm saying is that for people who don't know how to see past their own emotional experiences, they're the easiest people who get influenced. The whole time they think they're doing the right thing, they feel like they're doing the right thing. It's not intuition, they're emotions. And when that emotion is fueled by fear, you are not doing it right. You are actually making the wrong move. And sometimes you not knowing your true sovereign power is a wrong move. You believing propaganda is a wrong move. You believing that you don't have power is a wrong move. You believing somebody just because they're riling you up or they're influencing your emotions or they're telling you stories just because they make you feel strong feelings, that's actually you not practicing discernment. So think about this right now. Get your consciousness on track. When the entire world is in chaos, the only thing that's going to guide you is yourself, only if you are connected to the divine truth within, which is God consciousness, which is the universe, which is source. But if you are erratic, chaotic, unstable, overly emotional, you're not going to see that. You're not going to connect properly. Take some accountability and stay true to your intuition. Stay discerning, do not rush. Think twice before assuming something to be true.